Hello and welcome back to this level 1 beginners course. In chapter 3 we're going to be discussing Adobe Photoshop. I'll just show you around the software to make you a bit more familiar before we start actually creating the spray. So if you go down to Start Program Files and open your Adobe Photoshop CS3, you should see something similar on your screen. I'm just going to make a couple of changes here just so you can see my layers palette, because I'll be working slightly different to you, just so you can see everything. Just going to collapse these two columns, and I'm going to bring my layers palette out here for once we start on that section, on that chapter. Right, so I'll just show you around. As you look at this, you will have your layers palette on the right hand side. This is the layers palette down here at the bottom, which is what we're going to be using. I'll have you collapse these other palettes so you can concentrate more on the layers palette later on. So that's the layers palette. If you can't see the layers palette, or it hasn't loaded on your version, if you come up to the window menu at the top of Photoshop and then come down to the layers where it says layers and just select the layers, and your layers palette will appear on the right, or you can press F7, which is the shortcut if you prefer. So this is the layers palette which we'll be using during this tutorial. We come over to the left hand side. This is the tool palette, and we'll be using a number of these tools during the course, and I'll go through just a few of them. This is the move tool which we'll be using. We'll be using the paint bucket tool, which is situated here. If you can't see some of these icons by the way, you'll see there's a little arrow at the side of each icon. If you right click that icon, a menu comes out. There are several tools on each icon. So if you can't see the paint bucket tool, just right click and select the paint bucket tool from the two in the tools palette. We'll also be using the text tool, which is this one here, to add some text to some of our sprays. And further down here we'll also be using the colour palettes. The foreground colour we'll be using. So that's the tools palette. Also I want to point out, when you select some of these tools, like the text tool for example, up at the top here we get further options to change things with that particular tool. With this type tool we can change the font colour, the font size and the font, and we will be using these as we add some text onto our spray. And I think that's just about it for the Photoshop bit. So just remember, we'll be using this palette here, the layers, the tools palette which is over here, and then the options which is situated up at the top. That's about it for chapter 3, so I'll catch you in the next chapter.